Thank you for staying till the end. If we'd made the end an hour ago, it would have been you who was here, and all the people who've gone would have gone an hour earlier. The end of the conference is always sad. Oh. So we're going to try some improvisation comedy. That's exactly what we want. So this is. I'm going to combine a couple of formats here. Improvisation comedy. A format some of you will know called fishbowl, which is normally done in a smaller setting than this. This is a fishbowl. We have 4 seats here. So we have a panel, 3 people. The 4th seat, which is at the moment the uncomfortable seat, but will change shortly, is yours for the taking. If any of you in the audience would at any time like to join the panel and make your contribution to the panel, come and take the spare seat. The people who are on the panel, when the spare seat is occupied, one of them has to relinquish their seat and go back to the audience. They need to self-organise to give up a seat and go back to the audience, at which point there will be a free seat, and if you want to invite yourself to the panel, you can take it, and one of the people here will have to give up and iterate. Yeah. So that's one element. The second element is we need to ask the panel some questions. So I've prepared some clickbait here, which I will feed to the panel, but really I would like you to provide the questions. We have Lauren and Rachel on each side of the room. We have a supply of post-it pads. You can't do anything agile without post-it pads, can you? If you have a piece of paper, if you have a post-it pad, great. Write out the question, pass it to Rachel or Lauren. They'll pass it up to the front. If you don't have a piece of paper handy, I have some sheets. Rachel and Lauren have some piece of paper. Get some paper, pass it up to the front. I'll do a quick prioritisation. We'll feed it to the panel. And if every so often we might do one of those thumbs up, carry on, thumbs down, stop type exercises. Yeah? Clear as mud? Okay. Do we have any questions?
Does that mess with your process?
Not particularly, but it does mean we need to give one of the microphones to the audience, or we can repeat the question. Okay, question number 1. Or are you joining the panel?
Yes. Maybe.
Okay, one of these people has to now give up their seat.
Oh, so early. So now, asking a question from here. My question, it's my first time at Agile on the Beach. My question is, for an Agile conference, it has a very low amount of interactivity. So the talks were about 43 minutes, so there were 2 minutes time to ask questions. There was nearly no time to have any discussion about things. So to me it felt a little bit that we stayed on the surface for most topics. And I wanted to ask if that is a decision you made, that you're not doing open spaces and bar camps and all that stuff. Is there a reason behind it, or is it just coincidence?
I'll take the microphone back. Toby invented the conference, so Toby.
It's all my fault. Essentially, we have a call for papers process. People submit what they would like to present. We're very lucky we had quite a considerable number of papers of submissions last year, about 250, and we selected through quite a complex process based on a number of criteria, but ultimately we did not assess the specific delivery style, although some people would have explained how they were going to deliver things, but we don't set out exactly how people should deliver things. You could argue that maybe we should, or maybe we should be looking wider for more ideas. more delivery methods. So I think that's a good point. We could take that on board actually for next year in order to look at maybe looking for people that are going to be delivering more, just different styles of session. So thank you. Great feedback.
Anything to add, Belinda?
I suppose the only thing I'd add is, I think, it's good to include 10 minutes at the end of any session to have questions. Generally, I try and do that when I'm speaking. But also, we've got lots of social events. So the break times and the social events throughout the conference, we hope it's more of an Agile experience where you actually do get to have conversations. I know I've spoken to lots of you on the topics that have been discussed. So hopefully we get that in as well. But I think it's a valid point.
I was just quite happy that I had some questions at the end of my talk. If I'd relied on only having questions, I think it would have been quite a stressful session for me.
Anyone, if anyone would like to add anything, just come and take the empty seat. Or do we have another question? About the conference, about Agile, about Cornwall, about the airspeed velocity of a swallow?
Say again?
African or European?
Pardon?
We've left those lot. Was there somebody down the front here?
Definitely European.
Monica, do you want the...
So what does actually drive you to invest your time to organize these conferences year on year? It's a great thing, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. I think we are driven by passion. We are driven by we love our county. We love working in tech and doing Agile. Toby came up with the idea of Agile on the beach 6 years ago. It's really kind of exploded from there and grown. And I think all the time that people want to come, that we will be very happy to organise it and take it forward. And it's great to bring the community together. It's great to get people down here and see that there is a tech sector down here. But yeah, I mean, you guys is what drives it. I think for me, a lot of it, in the positive feedback that we get. And, I get quite emotional at the end because it's just so lovely to see so many happy faces. So it's great.
It's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that. I suppose it kind of, when we sort of came up, just thought about the idea. It's just like, we've been using Agile for about 3 years, and it was just like, wow, this has just revolutionised my business, my life. All of a sudden, life is nice. I was literally, and I remember after 1 or 2 years, after we started, looking back thinking, wow, we're still in business. I actually thought we would have actually shut up shop by now, had it not been for the fact that Agile kind of suddenly made life good again. That whole kind of horrible project nightmare situations, which was just so stressful. But obviously one of the key things about Agile is that it's not just it's not like Prince 2, read the box, read the book, get certified, and then run around with your certificate trying to get jobs or anything. It's an ongoing, it's a continuum of knowledge acquisition and, most importantly, sharing. Knowledge acquisition is great, but knowledge sharing is better. And sharing knowledge with more people is even better than just sharing it with just the people that you know. And so for me, just seeing so many people being able to be part of that experience is the sort of biggest driver.
we have another question from the audience. So it's another question about Agile on the beach. Nothing wrong with that. I'll suppose if you get any questions, more general questions, then feel free. So the question is, what were your goals for Agile on the beach, and how are you measuring them? Build, measure, learn. Yeah, that's right. Belinda is not part of the committee. Belinda and Toby, myself, Mike, Claire's around here, someone says Mark, are the committee. Dave was just a passing stranger who we kind of pulled in to be on the committee, because that's what you do. Your goals.
Goals. So every year, so basically Mike and myself are technically the directors of Agile on the Beach Limited, which is set up as a not-for-profit company. We don't take anything, we don't take a fee, and but we do fundamentally have the financial liability on our shoulders should it all go wrong. And so one fundamental goal is not to become bankrupt. But realistically, you can't just focus everything around that. Ultimately, we want to make sure that we can make a surplus as opposed to a loss, and then longer term actually reinvest some of the surpluses into projects. So we've started putting some money into some educational projects, and I think longer term, this year was we had a number of challenges this year. We were a bit unsure about how well it would work this year. I think actually it's gone very well from a we pretty much basically sold out ticket wise. So we have got a surplus this year, which we can therefore put into reinvest into better, more expenses. So basically we can attract. There were a number of speakers that we would love to have had this year, but it was just not. We weren't quite sure whether or not we could afford it. There were a number of additional costs that we hadn't had in previous years. So ultimately, we're looking at sort of reinvesting. So the goal really for this year was to obviously not make a loss, and therefore actually have a surplus to reinvest into next year.
I think this year is the conference's biggest challenge since it started. If you want to speak, Mike, please take the spare seat.
We've done all the committee questions.
Well, okay. Sorry, that sounded a bit loud. I think, from my perspective, the goal is I think somebody said earlier on about sharing knowledge, learning. The financial thing is very, very important because we don't want to, run out of money. But I think really the goal for me is bringing people to Cornwall, helping the businesses in Cornwall. And if you look at what's happened to many of the businesses that are in the sector in Cornwall, how they've grown over the last 5-6 years by not a factor of 1 or 2, but Paul's business, the business I work for, Toby's business, these businesses have grown from virtually nothing to 30 to 40 to how many people 80? 60? I don't know, something like that. So
3 more people this week.
Yeah, and we're taking on new people as well at the moment. So, but it's not just about that. It's really part of the big picture of making Cornwall a sort of centre of excellence. But it's not just about that either. It's all about people coming together, learning, sharing, and to get people like Linda and Rebecca to come here and share their knowledge with us. To me, that's a huge goal. That's what that to me is the goal. End of. Otherwise, I'll be talking for the rest of the day.
Next question. Do you want to say anything, Bal? Okay, so we have another question from the audience. This person is concerned about our answer to the first question. They say, what is Agile, and Agile's in inverted commas, about a programme committee, that's us, filling slots and tracks in a fixed programme? And by way of background, there's a lot of conferences now which call themselves unconferences and perhaps they make it up as they go along on the day. I'm deliberately, although I am reputedly have a large mouth and very opinionated, I'm deliberately trying to stay back here.
No, I think the concept of like the unconference concept is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, we do have perhaps a fixed schedule and fixed speakers. We have the lightning talk, so we try and bring in some agility into it. But also how we try and run the conference through the year, so thinking about the goals and how the conference runs is trying to do things in an agile way. So it's all an experience and it's all a journey, so every year we try and improve and get better and make changes. And in terms of, you know, our goals, it's about getting feedback from you guys about what you guys want from the conference so that we can consider those and put those into the mix, into the backlog and prioritise them. But yeah, we do try and again, I kind of come to that social element, which I think is really important to our conference and I think sets us apart a little bit, is that while yes, we do have the fixed tracks and speakers, actually there's lots and lots of time. I hope you all came to the beach party last night and had a chance to talk, and that I think is where, you know, you have that time, you have that slack within the conference to actually have those conversations that you want to.
Questions are coming thick and fast from the audience now. Toby, do you want to finish off on that one?
What I would say is that, you know, the format does not have to stay the same. We do go through a retrospective. We go through. Last year we had some really good feedback and lots of through the sort of survey, and you know, actually a really good retrospective. So many number of hours long, reviewing all, you know, lots of the feedback and work out how to improve it. So I would urge, you know, everyone, please put as much feedback in as possible so we can take that on board and improve, iterate, and improve for next year.
The other thing I'd say is it's quite nice to hear that, because I can assure you there's a lot of agility going on in the background to make this conference run smoothly and give you all as great an experience. The Mackerel Sky team, they can turn on a pivot and make things happen. So it's really nice to kind of hear that you think it's all this kind of just perfectly planned event.
Okay, there's a question here which we could be here all night discussing. Hopefully we're going to get short, succinct answers from the panel, because we've got several more very interesting questions. And this would have been very interesting clear ago, will AOTB be affected by Brexit?
No.
No.
No. Why would it? The opportunity is there for people to do more outsourcing, more activity. I think we'll get more attendance at AOTB.
Okay. 250 papers submitted. What topics are you bored of or miss? What don't we want or what do we want? There's always someone who's lining up their submission for next year.
Is that like a personal or a team question? Shall I answer that? Personally, I'd like to see more stuff of Agile outside of software, so more broadly in the business. So we had some brilliant talks this year.
I think we have enough of that, actually. I think we want to see more software craftsmanship and more technical.
I agree. We've been chatting with some guys. I think we really need to have a track that really allows people to get their inner geek really on at Agile on the Beach, that really does push Agile in software as far as we can go. A number of people we're chatting to yesterday at the beach party really wanted to push their art forward, and I think we've got to respond to that as a committee and really push it on. We did broaden it out into business and teams tracks, because clearly Agile is a broader church now, but we also need to go back to our core and I think really push them forward.
I mean, we have to remember one of the biggest, if you know, you go into a business that is not as agile as it could be, and they're it's not normally the developers or the technical people who are holding it back. It's I'm not saying up there, over there. You know, it's those business people who, you know, go, no, we have to have, you know, all that rubbish.
I really love that we have that kind of diversity and mix, though, that we have lots of different people coming together, because I think conferences, we cover, you know, you can tell by the kind of almost the discussion that we're always starting to have, that we all come from different perspectives, so we try and cover things off.
Okay, I'm going to move you on because the questions are coming thick and fast now. This is a question to Lisa. I'm assuming Belinda. I overheard you saying Agile is different. Did you say this?
Agile is different.
Different. Or is there at least in the room who did say this? Is it better or worse? This is Agile, not Agile on the beach.
This is just Agile. Was it for me? Does anybody want to admit to asking the question? Oh, go on, give me some. Oh, Martin.
For you. Actually, it was for you.
Take the seat, take the seat.
There we go.
Take the seat.
Linda.
Linda.
I'm terrible, I'm sorry. I overheard you discussing with somebody saying that Agile is different these days than it used to be a number of years ago. Do you think it's better nowadays, or is it worse? Yes, it's better.
I thought it was improvised, that's actually easy. Okay. So this is, I'm struggling a bit with writing on here. Silver bullet. Agile for
Agility's sake, how much sense does that make? Silver bullet, agile for agility's sake, how much sense does that make? This is kind of a tone, but we are in a performance centre. Here. Silver bullet, agile for agility's sake. So are people is the question, are people just following agile because it's the trend or other pieces? Does it make sense just to follow agile because it's part of the pack? I don't know. No? No sense.
depends what the alternative is.
Is that how are we interpreting the question correctly?
Whose question is it?
I got to that because of the question regarding the conference. Because I mean, there's a use case for office space, a use case for conferences, a use case for archives, and a use case for conferences. And so the critique that this format might be. The critique that the format, having fixed slots with set speakers, might be wrong, and expecting that a conference on Agile has to have an Agile format. Just how much sense does that make if you have to fly in speakers from all over the world? Otherwise, on the other hand, I would like to see a couple more workshops. That would be great. Yeah, but I think the format was fantastic.
I mean, it would be a real shame for somebody to, you know, I know Joe came from Australia, and we've got some fantastic keynotes that have flown here, and it would be a real shame if we reprioritised and they didn't get to talk. So, I don't think that would be the case, of course.
I've got several questions in front of me about the conference, some we could consider as feedback, and also a bit of an exam question here in 3 parts about more meaty Agile stuff. So maybe I'll read the 3 questions out and the panel can have a quick shoot at this, and then we'll return to the question about the conference itself to finish off with. So question 1, can the panel or anyone in the audience recommend sources for keeping up with the latest Agile trends, innovations, podcasts, video blogs, etc., etc.? Question 2. What are the big problems, issues in Agile? When does it struggle to address a need? What are the valid criticisms of Agile? So actually, it's more than 3 questions. How can Agile be used in the service delivery environment?
25 marks.
It would have been good if we could have had this to start off with.
I'm going to go down to our expert here. So where would you keep up with the latest developments in Agile? I'll come up, yeah, lovely.
We're just going to do one part of this, right? Okay.
Yeah, whichever part you've...
Okay. So I'm a fan of podcasts, and in fact, I think
that's probably my primary source for information these days. And so there's a podcast called Software Engineering Radio that I listen to. And I guess what's surprising to me is that many of the podcasts I listen to are not Agile flavored, but people are talking about Agile. So one of the podcasts I subscribe to is Harvard Business Review. And just recently there was a podcast with an interview with Jeff Sutherland, because he's written an article that appeared in the May issue of this year's Harvard Business Review. And so for me, that was an eye-opener. I hadn't read that issue yet. Sometimes when they arrive, I pile them up and I don't really have a look at it. And I didn't realize that now executives and high-level decision makers are going to be interested in what Agile is all about. And I only learned that through a Harvard Business Review podcast. Another one I listened to is Dan Pink's Office Hours, and he was interviewing a Harvard Business Review researcher, Teresa Amabile, and she had a book out called The Progress Principle, and the book was about research on software development. So I would say you can't focus narrowly anymore, and maybe that's the Agile lesson, is that you can't think that you're going to listen to all the podcasts or look at all of the publications that have to do with software and think that you're going to keep up with Agile development. In fact, my recommendation as you get, for people who say, well, how is it that you're incredibly old and people are still inviting you to talk? And I would say the answer to that is that I don't focus on just one thing anymore. I look around and I read widely and I listen to lots of different things. So if you're going to keep on the latest and greatest on anything, you have to move up and look around and not just focus on what you think might be the ordinary sources of information. You have to read widely, listen widely. How's that?
That's brilliant. So Rebecca's stepped up.
A couple of things. Agile is rapidly becoming just software development. It's not there yet, but more and more, just focusing on things that label themselves Agile won't really give you the breadth that you need. So +1 to Software Engineering Radio. Most of the people who speak on that have an Agile mindset, and so though their default position on things will have that, you'll see a lot of that on InfoQ as well. They do have some specific Agile content, but again, many of the people who contribute there just think that they don't have to say Agile software development, they just say software development. As Belinda had pointed out, and we've seen in some of the talks here, Agile is moving out of software development as well. Our legal department actually uses an Agile-inspired process to manage their contract work. Executives have discovered it, so you can find some quite interesting content in looking at some of the business domains and looking at things like HBR. I would also say that thinking about the sociological aspects of teams, a lot of that is being more and more inspired by Agile thinking. And so if you are more on the team dynamics side and such, following some of the individuals who spend time thinking about team dynamics and process and the intellectual activities that go into developing software. I know those last aren't terribly specific, but that isn't my specific area of expertise. But I know there are people, Esther Darby, Diana Larson, they think a lot about organizational design, team dynamics, and So I would suggest start following some individuals and see where it leads you.
Now, when you said InfoQ, I realized that's a very good source for information. Go to InfoQ. And one of the things that people often don't realize about InfoQ is that they have books available. So there are InfoQ books. And many of the authors I know use that as a way to get started on a larger, I would say, real book. Because these are short, usually about 100 pages. And if you download them, the PDF is available from the InfoQ site. So if you just go to infoq.com and search for books, all those books are free. So I know sometimes that's an issue if you worry about shipping costs and the cost of the book. So that's a good way to start. There are all kinds of new topics because authors are using that venue as a way to say, well, I have some ideas about things I've been thinking about, but I don't know whether I could write a full-blown book, but 100 pages, I can probably put that together. So there are a lot of really interesting sort of books in progress that are available for download absolutely free.
And one more resource, Agile Alliance is working very hard to expand the content that they make available. They have videos of many of the talks that are given at the conference. All of the keynotes are available. They're also, for example, they're undertaking right now an examination of technical debt, the sources of technical debt, techniques for remediating technical debt. And so that's also a good place to go for practitioner-generated content about real-world Agile problems.
Just want to add, don't forget you're now part of a community that's near 2,000 people strong in terms of Agile on the Beach attendees, and you can all talk to each other and you can keep up with each other's developments. That's also a key part of this movement, is making sure you dialogue with each other and sharing the things that you've learned here, if you've been previously in previous years, and keeping up to date. I guess there's one about Agile in a service environment.
I think we're going to pass on that.
Just very quickly though, there's a very good friend of mine written a book called Being Agile in Business, a lady called Belinda, you might have seen her wandering around. That's a good book to start on.
While I've got Rebecca and Linda on the stage, I'm going to take this question quickly, and maybe somebody in the audience wants to add to it well. We're kind of running out of time, so let's make this last question. The biggest surprise, apart from the boat parts that has yet to happen during the conference, it's the biggest surprise we've had this conference.
You're asking us for the...
Well, specifically the newbies, Rebecca and Linda, but Mark?
Okay, well, the biggest surprise for me was that the sun came out today. And I was wandering around on the little area I just discovered because the sun was out, and I thought, wow, there's only one more session. Do I really want to go inside? I could just stay out here. They were giving away free beer. We could just have some interesting conversations. But no, I decided I would go for that last session, and it was on the introduction of Agile into marketing. And I had not expected that. And it was not only surprising because I don't know really anything about marketing, and I learned a lot in the session, but to learn that the presenter had just finished writing a master's thesis on the topic and had a book available, and I walked out of there with a free book. So that was really a nice surprise to end the conference.
I was in a session this afternoon. And in hindsight, we might have been able to figure this out, but it was on positive disruption. And the speaker never said a word the entire session. He forced us to disrupt our environment and talk amongst ourselves and solve problems. And we sang at the end, which is always strange for technologists to be singing. Sometimes that's not the greatest thing. But we did fairly well. But I thought that was indicative of a community that supported the kind of experimentation and risk-taking. Because that could have fallen completely flat. You could have had people say, wait a minute, I came in here to learn about how to be a disruptor. And instead, it was like, well, let's be disruptive. Let's disrupt this idea of what a conference talk is. So I would say that was my biggest surprise. I was just pleased to see the sun come out.
Quick one here to remember. Belinda can give a yes or no to. Swap with Mark quickly.
Sorry.
Are the slides and recordings from Agile on the Beach available?
Oh, they will be, yes. So the videos, we've videoed every session as long as they come out. They're very minimum viable videos, but we will get them out over the next couple of weeks once they're processed and through. They're very much just video there for you to watch, and also the sessions that you've missed. There's also an archive on YouTube, so just about all the sessions that we record, and there's now hundreds of videos on there. The slides I will request off the speakers, so as long as they send them to me, I'll be adding those to the website. And I also generally create like a media page, so blog posts, photos. So equally, if you write any blog posts or if you write anything up about the conference, let me know, because we do try and make it a community resource as well. So, yes.
One here I'll take as a suggestion for improvement. You've all got feedback forms. If you can complete them and drop them in the box or wherever we're putting them. How about a lunchtime hackathon? Okay? The committee will talk about this in our planning sessions. 2 last questions about the conference itself. Belinda, maybe you can answer this one. How will the rescheduled July affect the attendance next year?
I hope it won't affect at all, actually. I think, I hope that more people will be able to come. There's always mixed feedback, so one date is very convenient for one, and not so convenient for the next. But we're 2 months earlier, and it will be as brilliant as ever, or as brilliant as I think it is as ever.
Perhaps worth mentioning, for those who don't know, the university is changing its term time structure. So if we want to have this venue, we want to bring accommodation back on campus as we have in previous years, we need to move the conference to July. So we probably would have done it ourselves, but I think we're feeling strong enough to face up to it. And the tickets are on sale now. Last question, and Mike's got a few words to finish off. Somebody's left an HDMI adapter up on stage. Last question. The biggest improvement on this conference since the first edition. What were you most proud of? I guess only those who have been to a few editions. Mike, you've got to come up on stage in a minute anyway, so while Belinda answers it, Mike can get ready.
Most proud of? I think, I don't know, maybe you guys, is just the fact that you guys keep coming back. And that we've created something that people really seem to enjoy, and they have a great experience. I know I have learnt so much from being in the sessions and speaking to people. So I'm just proud of the whole, really, I guess. And the team.
Come on, Mark.
I think the thing that I'm most proud of about the conference is the fact that we started very, very small. I think we had 60 people at the first conference. We're now sold out, 350 people. But I think that, to me, this year, I did nothing. Because we've got the most amazing, and I'm going to do all the thank yous in a minute, self-organising team. And that's Agile.
Mark?
It is, for me, it's the scale. You think about it from 2010 to 2016, the way things have grown. I think we had 2 tracks in 2010. I think we had 2 tracks, both quite technical. We didn't talk about the broad applications of Agile. We didn't really admit people who weren't able to code into the room. And then we had a breakthrough moment where we found Agile was being adopted and moved. Lean hadn't really grabbed people in the service. So Agile really started to inspire them. We started to broaden and broaden with business tracks and team tracks, and we'll continue to do that, I think, as we go forward. But for me, that's the step change between 2010 and 2016. It's not just volume, it's diversity as well. The whole diversity of Agile is reflected in our conference now.
So, as I said, I was not going to speak in this session, but to draw an end to it, I'll answer this question myself. Everything I said before, Gush. A couple of years ago, after a couple of, I was working behind the scenes, we actually added the product management track, which is now product management and product design. And I think that makes us really distinctive, and it's a really important topic that doesn't get enough attention in conferences. We had that a couple of years ago, and this year, what I'm most proud of is that we've got all of you and all these topics in one conference. Last year, on several occasions, I've gone to project manager conferences, and the project managers have complained about silos in their organisations. And I've gone to business analysis conferences, and the business analysts have complained about silos in the business. And I've gone to developer conferences, and the developers have complained about silos. And they all go to conferences in silos. This conference has no silos. This conference has mixed you all up, and the developers can go to business tracks, and the techies can go to technical Bitcoin sessions, and you're here, you hear the same message. We've got keynotes, we always seek out keynotes that we think can address the wider audience, and we did it this year. We've mixed you all up, we've exposed you with a load of this stuff. There's no silos. Thank you for coming. Mike, do you want to do the closing? Is this one?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, so it just falls to me to do all the thank yous, which is sort of a formal thing. But just before we do that, just a couple of words from me. The big takeaway for me, for the whole conference, is Agile as a journey. And we've been on this journey. Jim, my son here, made a statement quite some time ago that his first experience of Agile was pair programming with me when he was 8. And I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was, but that's a journey that we've been going on, and we're still going on it. So I think that's the big learning for me. Fantastic to, and every year I'm still learning something new. I'm being reminded of stuff that I should have remembered. Linda and Rebecca are going, and I'm going, oh, I should have been doing that, we should have been doing that. And also catching up with old friends and meeting a lot of new people, and that's just so brilliant. Different people from different countries, different from people's backgrounds, etc., etc. I don't know whether everybody knows, but I'm the managing director of a software business. We've just been acquired this year, so we've changed our name. But again, we've got a team of about 40 people in Cornwall. 20 of them have been here during the course of the conference. So that's an unbelievable experience for them. And my feedback to them is to say, please on Monday morning, come to me and tell me what you've learned. And then we start putting that into practice. So it's not me going back to them and saying, by the way, you've got to do this, this and this and this, because I learned this at the conference. You've got to come to me and say, this is what. So this is the learning bit that I think is so fantastic about the conference. And one of the lightning talks, and I'm sorry I can't remember who it was, said it was not very easy. And it's not very easy for everybody, and it's not very easy for the people at the top either, by the way. But that's life. And sort of, by the way, I learned something about, I learned something about Swiss cheese. I learned something about baby elephants, thank you. And I learned something about blockchain. So, I've learned a lot. Okay, so get on with the thanks. I want to thank all our speakers. I don't know how many are still here, but particularly to Linda and Rebecca for coming right across the Atlantic, So please, big round of applause for both our keynotes. There are too many for me to name them all, otherwise we'll be here for ages. So the next thank you is for all our sponsors. As I said at the beginning of the conference, without the sponsors, we are a not-for-profit business. Without the sponsors, the ticket prices would have to be much higher. We wouldn't get as many people, etc., etc. So very, very many thanks to all our sponsors, particularly to Sky and CDK, who are gold sponsors. So if any of the guys are still here from Sky and CDK? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very, very much indeed, guys. So that's the sponsors. I'll go through this fairly quickly. The event team unbelievable job. I don't know how many of them are here. Wave event team. Come on, wave. Claire, Laura, Holly, who does all the bookkeeping, Rachel, Kate, Lauren, Nina, Jasmine and Kat. So absolutely fabulous. All the crew, these are all the people from the Performance Centre that have been doing all the tech. Some of them are up the back there. I don't know where Pete is, but you know, Pete, John, Matt, Andy, another Pete, and the whole technical team here from the whole Performance Centre have kept everything going. You know, all the tech stuff. So massive thank you to them. FX Plus, who actually do the sort of caretaking and cleaning, we have to thank them as well, because don't forget the people that have to do the cleaning up and stuff. And then all our caterers and entertainments, Plymouth Shout, to everybody that was at the party last night, the shanty singers, nearly got that wrong, and they put all, and also to say that the money that they raise goes to the RNLI. So that's fantastic. All the caterers that were out here today, Angus and Mitchell, Shellfish Pig, Kerno Ferno, At Home, Gilly Beach Cafe for the party last night, and I think they did a really, really good job this year, by the way. I think the catering this year has been fantastic. Prima Bakeries for the pasties at the evening on Wednesday, and Head Forwards and Driftwood Spas for the beer. So thank you very much, and I think there's still some free beer out the front there to take with you. And Picnic Cornwall for doing the coffees and the teas. So big round of applause for all our... So yeah, I mean the other people I need to thank, I don't need to thank myself obviously, but Toby, who started the whole thing, Belinda, who does all the marketing, absolutely unbelievable job of running the marketing for us, you know. And somebody said earlier, how do you measure success? How do you measure success of the marketing effort? The fact that we sold out. So that's a very good measure of that effort. Mark, thank you very much indeed for all your contributions. Alan, what do I need to say? Organising all the speakers, you know, unbelievable. You know, I don't know what would we do without you. And also fantastic to meet your family at long last as well. And Claire, where's Claire? Claire's in the back room, but Claire from Mackerel Sky, who's the event organisers, she's on the committee, and she keeps us all in control. So she goes, don't forget to do this, you've got to come to the meetings, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And also, Lisa, where are you? Are you here? Yeah, she was here. Although she's not on the committee, she's done a lot of work in the background, helping us, particularly helping Toby. Just again keeping stuff going, because Toby and I have been really busy the last 12 months. So yeah, so you know, thank you all of you, because as I said earlier, I haven't had to do anything apart from go onto the bank account every now and then and pay a few bills. So thank you, the committee. Oh, I didn't mention Jim, but you know, we'll thank him later with a few beers as well, because he really started the whole thing off as well. Okay, but most important, thank you all for coming, because you know, you can have a conference with all the best speakers, you can have all the best food, etc., 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 but without an audience, you know, it doesn't go very far. So not just for attending, but also contributing. Please don't forget to fill in your evaluation forms, feedback forms. We do hold a retrospective. We do listen to feedback. We've had some good feedback just now. And as we said earlier, the presentations of films will go up on the website in the next few weeks. And I'd like to thank Melissa for doing all the video editing. I don't know whether Melissa was here. She was outside here somewhere. But she does all the video editing and putting them all together to get them onto the website. So, Please give yourselves a round of applause for being here and being such a fantastic audience.